The one-carat natural diamond you paid tens of thousands for is, at its core, identical to the lab-grown diamond you bought for a few thousand. Both are pure carbon. Both scored 10 on the Mohs hardness scale. Both have a refractive index of 2.417 and dispersion of 0.04. Even GIA's microscopes can only tell them apart by examining atomic-level growth patterns. This was actually achieved back in 1954 by a team of engineers at General Electric, GE. Today, we'll break it down into three fundamental logics, from GE's original lab to De Beers, the diamond giant cornering itself into a corner. And the most counterintuitive insight, it's hidden in the second case. A company deliberately slashed prices in one market to protect pricing power in another. By the end, you'll realize this isn't a science problem, it's an economics problem. First, rewind to Schenectady, New York, in the 1950s. Inside GE's research lab, engineer H. Tracy Hall and his team pulled off what seemed, at the time, like pure scientific whimsy, using high-pressure, high-temperature, HPHT, synthesis. They packed carbon source material and a diamond seed crystal into a gross chamber, heated to 1,600 degrees Celsius and pressurized to 50,060 atmospheres, effectively recreating Earth's mantle right on the surface. What did their first batch of synthetic diamonds look like? Honey yellowish, impure, and by today's standards, not even fit for a jewelry display case. But GE never intended to sell them as gems. They were after diamonds' hardness for industrial cutting, grinding, and drilling applications, then dominated by expensive, inconsistent, natural diamonds. To GE, this technology was a literal money printer. Replacing scarce natural industrial diamonds with lab-grown ones would slash costs overnight. You'd think common sense says if a company creates something physically identical to a rare natural resource, boom, instant fortune. Wrong. The real game had only just begun. Most people assume, once there's a substitute, natural diamonds are doomed. But experts think differently. GE didn't enter the jewelry market not because they didn't want to, but because the timing wasn't right. Why? Because from the 1950s through the 1980s, lab-grown diamonds remained prohibitively expensive and inconsistent in quality, suitable only for industrial grit and abrasives. That changed entirely in the 21st century, especially once chemical vapor deposition, CVD, matured. With CVD, a diamond seed is placed inside a vacuum chamber filled with hydrogen and methane, then bombarded with microwaves to create a plasma ball at 701 IC, causing carbon atoms to deposit layer by layer. In weeks, you get a slab-like diamond. Isn't that just growing diamonds like bean sprouts? Costs plummeted. Quality soared. But what truly sent shockwaves through the jewelry world wasn't that industrial powder, it was De Beers' own boomerang. De Beers, the global diamond titan, wrote the iconic slogan, "A diamond is forever," cementing diamonds as the ultimate symbol of love. So, when lab-grown diamonds started appearing in jewelry cases, what scared De Beers most? Not competition, it was consumers failing to grasp the difference between natural and lab-grown. Because if lab-grown diamonds claim the label real diamond, the entire scarcity narrative underpinning natural diamonds would collapse. In September 2018, De Beers did something deeply counterintuitive. It launched its own lab-grown diamond brand lightbox jewelry. Guess the price? Around $800 for a one-carat stone. Meanwhile, natural diamonds of the same size started at several $1,000s and climbed fast. Most people thought De Beers had lost its mind attacking its own business, driving lab-grown prices to rock bottom. Wasn't that financial suicide? Not at all. De Beers used that price point to draw a hard line. Natural diamonds are precious jewelry meant to hold or appreciate in value. Lab-grown diamonds are fashion accessories, pure consumables, designed to lose value the moment you wear them. So cheap that you'd never dream of reselling on, meaning they pose zero threat to the secondary market for natural diamonds. And Lightbox didn't even engage in the natural versus lab-grown debate. It presented itself outright as fun to wear. Even the packaging whispered, "Don't take this too seriously." How brilliant is that? It squeezed competitors' profit margins to near zero, forcing many out of the market. Meanwhile, De Beers' natural diamond business remained completely untouched. This isn't science strategy, but the logic bubble was truly punctured by GIAth, Gemological Institute of America. GI used to refuse certification for lab-grown diamonds. In 2019, it changed its policy. Every submitted lab-grown diamond now receives its own dedicated report, GIA Laboratory-Grown Diamond Report, with cover, girdle inscription, and the laser inscriptions all clearly marked laboratory-grown. And here's a fact you simply cannot argue with. The grading fee is identical. Whether you submit a 1,000 lab-grown diamond or a 10,000 natural 1-carat stone, the GIA fee is likely the sum attends to about $100. What does that mean? For lab-grown diamonds, certification costs eats up a much larger share of the total price. Spend 5 figures on engagement ring, and the certificate fee is negligible. Spend 4, even 3 figures on a lab-grown diamond, and that report alone consumes a major chunk of your margin. From day one, this industry wasn't competing over who's more real or fake. It was competing over whose cost structure hurts more, and whose story holds up under scrutiny. So all three foundational logics connect seamlessly. GE proved, via its industrial logic, that in the physical world, material and composition are identical price differences live solely in cost and narrative. De Beers demonstrated, via commercial logic, that the best way to protect a product's price ceiling is to actively suppress the price floor of its substitute. And GIA delivered, via scientific logic, a perfectly fair ID card. But that fairness itself got split by the market into two profit formulations with its own denominator. Now go ahead and drop a comment. Name any jewelry brand and add one sentence. Will this brand fully embrace lab-grown diamonds over the next 5 years or double down on natural diamonds? I already have at least 3 strong candidates in mind. I'll pick the most compelling ones, and in our next video, we'll unpack how those brands plan to respond to these 3 logics.